I think that seeing is believing, and because I'm a physician, I want to see my scans and I want to see my slides. And so I called up my friend who's a pathologist at UCSF, and I said, hey, can you just show me my scan really quick? I just want to see this spot. Is there really a spot? Because, of course, I don't believe the doctor that read it. I'm trying really hard not to get in the middle of my care. I know I'm a physician, but I'm trying really hard not to intervene or broker my own care.
You go in and they say, you have cancer. Here are your choices. And you're like, choices? What? You've gone to school, you're the expert, save my life, what should I do? And it took a while for me to figure out that the doctors only were giving me, equally good options, like medically, the best options. And then it was up to me to decide between, different side effects.
The doctors that told me you're too young, you don't need a mammogram, I believed them because they're doctors, they know. What do I know? I'm not a doctor, I'm not in the medical field, they've done the research, they have all this experience. So I really believed them, and I knew that, at the time, all right, this is the right course. And my relationship with doctors has changed dramatically since initial diagnosis. So I'm now a firm believer that you have to be the manager of your own health care.
I learned, at some point that you really want to work with the doctor to figure out what your treatment is going to be. But once you have, chemotherapy drugs or whatever that you're going to take, you talk with the nurses about how do you deal with the side effects.
The nurses have been amazing. I mean, a lot of times the doctors have a particular mannerism. Some have very good bedside manners, others maybe not so much. But the nurses have all been stellar, and they will tell you, in a straight way, exactly, this is normal, other patients have gone through this, and this is what you'll feel, and this is how you'll feel.
My current oncologist, when she told me that I had terminal cancer, she walked in the door, I'm sitting on the bed, and the first thing she did was walk over. She didn't say anything, and she gave me a hug. And she said, Mary, I'm so sorry. And to me, she is the best because she's smart and she understands the treatments, but at the same time, she never forgets that she's a human being and I'm a human being.
I didn't tell any of the other parents because, it's this dilemma when you meet someone new, you can't go up, hi, how are you? My name's Lydia. I have metastatic breast cancer. Yes, that's a terminal illness. Yeah. And, oh, yes, you have other children? Oh, that's nice. It doesn't fit in that conversation. So it's a really crazy kind of thing. You meet people and you have this knowledge, and it's potentially, you kind of feel like, will they want to be friends? Let's get close to this person who has a terminal illness. I mean, that's just a really bizarre, crazy thing. But at the same time, I'm living, I have a life, I want to do things, and so you do want to interact with people.
Family has been just amazing, helpful, but scared. I mean, it's really frightening to be told you have metastatic cancer.
I find with my family and friends, I don't want them to be too upset and down about it, so I am more positive and uplifting. I mean, with them, I put a positive face on it. I don't feel like I'm pushing it, but at the same time, it feels better to me to have them be positive.
I have one friend, when I bring it up, completely says, don't think negatively, you're gonna live. And that discussion, we can't have that discussion, I found. Other family members were tiptoeing around thinking I didn't want to talk about it, but needing answers and desiring answers to questions. And slowly that came out, and they were relieved to realize that I'm going to be able to answer any question. I'm willing to answer the question. Different people have different capacities to handle it. But the people that are the closest to me have been incredibly understanding. And one of my ways of coping is to joke about it. And that more or less didn't go over well for most of my friends.
With my son, he was, he was 19 months old when I was diagnosed. We have always spoken just very openly in front of him, not, so much about, I'm going to die. We don't say it in a dark way, but cancer, metastatic, chemotherapy, these are very normal standard things said in our house. So I always wonder, for him, when is that realization of how serious this is? When is that going to happen for him? One of the hardest things with my diagnosis, my metastatic diagnosis, is again that guilt or whatever of, that I might not be there for my son. On the other hand, I feel like for me, one of the things I'm luckiest about with this diagnosis is that I have my son. That it's so hard with a metastatic diagnosis. One of the things you need to do is concentrate on the present moment, enjoy today, and not worry about what's going to happen next month, next year, whatever, to live in the moment. And no one is better at living in the moment than children. So I belong to a metastatic breast cancer support group, and it's that I find is really helpful for me. It is good to be in a group where people can say the negative things, people can feel whatever they're feeling, and it's okay to do all that.
I guess even though I know that I'm terminal, I got stuck in the terminal breast cancer group because if you get stuck in the early breast cancer group, that scares those people. They don't want to think about having a terminal diagnosis or it coming back.
I did go to a support group. I went to an advanced cancer metastatic support group, and it was very helpful for a long time, but it also became very depressing because, as we all had metastatic cancer, it's a killer. And so throughout the support group, friends of mine would die, and that made me really sad.
So I got very involved with online support groups. I tend to be a little bit of a lurker where I can only take so much of reading so-and-so has turned into an angel every time I log back on, or making friends with somebody, messaging them and then finding out they're dead because they haven't messaged me back in a couple weeks.